In 2001, we used to have terrorist cells, and it seems like in 2025, we have terrorist incels.
Trump is the new Adolf.
Welcome to the Chud Report. I'm your host, MJ. Today, we're going to be talking about your social security number being hijacked by the Boy Scouts of America here, right? I should have had today's sponsor be Aura. This is like perfect form. I'll get on that. Free speech abolitionist Elon Musk, right? Finally, a free speech platform. Twitter, you can say whatever you want. Here he is, not only blocking the names of this goon squad right here, not only blocking the names of government employees, right? Removing it, suspending the account, and then saying you have committed a crime. And back in the day, we could all laugh at this because, Elon Musk with a incel group of kids yelling online, you have committed a crime. But not anymore, because that dude is basically the de facto president at this point. And because he's special, yes, in that way, but special also in the government way. Trump says he's a special boy who could do whatever he wants because Trump won by 0.3% of the vote. So now he gets to turn this country into, a fascist kleptocracy overnight. Because that's a mandate. 0.3% is a mandate vote. So special boy right here enters a government building. He locks out Congress. Him and the Boy Scouts of America here. They lock out Congress. They set up their own server. Hillary Clinton had a private email server for classified info. They set up their own server within the Treasury building, right? And they take your classified data, all of it. Have you ever filed taxes? I mean, Wesley Snipes and Shakira might be the only people safe from Elon Musk. They take all your classified data. The Coomer Squad now has your social security number, your address, They even know about that new hemorrhoid you have, Dale. And why do they need that information? Well, I mean, if you've been on this channel a while, you already know the answer to that. Because they're making an enemies list. Oh, looks like you voted Democrat this year. I guess you don't get a tax return, right? We're only giving tax returns to those that vote Republican. You think I'm being hyperbolic? Go back and look at some of the past episodes. Then come back here and tell me I'm being hyperbolic. This group of people right here committing a heist in broad daylight, right? Unelected. Sieg Heil Carrot here is saying the true crime after taking over a government building with the Boy Scouts of America, the true crime is reporting on who they are. And the free speech abolitionist is not only keeping the blocks on Twitter, he's reaching out to Reddit to get it taken down. If you share this, if you share who these people are that have taken over a government building, right? He got white people Twitter on Reddit blocked. I feel like that's a little racist. Reddit, who kept the Donald open as a safe space for literal neo-Nazis. For almost, I think it was the entire 8 years Donald Trump was president. That Reddit. Identifying government employees inside a building, downloading all our information, all our classified information onto a server is a step too far, though. So when Elon Musk calls up, that's why I've censored them. Who knows what these tech platforms will do, right? They all are bending the knee. This is broken news. Several websites have already broke this. So I'm just commenting on the news. Because this is, it's a news channel, right? News-ish. Elon is trying to say this is doxing, right? Doxing has a broad definition, but it's typically described as releasing private details about an individual into the public, specifically with the purpose of harming that person. No one go out and harm these kids. That's not what this is about. These kids are harming you. Typically, government employees, even the special ones, have less privacy protections than do private citizens. You don't want to be identified in the news. You don't want the fourth estate, what's left of it, reporting on you. Don't go lock yourself in a government building. Listing individuals who are working on behalf of the government would not fall into previous definition of doxing, right? Though the definitions always change over time, like everything in this. I guess democratic republics change over time because 0.3% of the people, that's how much Trump won by. Whether doxing is a crime has traditionally been related to the type of information that has been released and how that information was acquired. I'm reporting on the news. And when you realize what Elon's doing, when you understand the game at this point, you understand what the tariffs were about.
Tariff diplomacy, quite remarkable.
Quite remarkable.
All I can say, Larry, is to the American people, promises made, promises kept.
Yep.
Donald Trump told you he was going to do everything to secure this nation, and that's what he's done. No talking points, no silly blue ribbon panels that go nowhere, no meetings that do absolutely
no silly
nothing.
Blue ribbons.
Decisive action with results. That's what Donald...
No blue ribbon cutting. I've seen Donald Trump sign literally every single executive action on Fox. They have a live camera to record him doing it. He's about done 300. So no ribbon cutting. Byron Donalds. Diplomacy by tariff. Diplomacy by tariff. He says to Byron Donalds here. I think that's the most up-to-date picture of him. Byron Donalds. Can we take a second? Byron Donalds was bootlicking this whole time, thinking he was going to be a VP candidate. Tim Scott and Byron Donalds are on a short list of potential Trump vice presidential candidates. You guys remember this? Tim Scott and Byron Donalds weren't on a short list of anything. They were on a short bus. Tim Scott was so desperate he grew a whole beard. He named it Mindy. I think he's played it out to its ultimate conclusion. I think he's marrying his beard Mindy. Maybe next time. And it's a real head scratcher why MAGA wouldn't love, a closeted gay black man and a black guy whose previous job before becoming a congressman was being a drug dealer. It's a real head scratcher, They actually thought they were going to be in this administration, right? They actually thought they were going to get into this club. But I'm going to help the Kudrow out, right? This Larry Kudrow on mainstream media shouting this out. You guys are so lame for getting your news from mainstream media, Fox News. So here's a little bit of a roadmap, how the first Trump administration went down and how this was going to go. It's quite literally this meme right here. And because 65% of this country can't read above a 6th grade level, I'll talk in a language the chuds all know, a meme. Right? It's literally this meme right here. Self-inflicted wounds to get attention. And then, you get celebrated. He's a genius. What did Larry Kudrow say? Diplomacy through tariffs. You get celebrated by mainstream media like Larry Kudrow when you put a Band-Aid on the very wound, on the very wrist you cut open.
Now we've just gotten this announcement from Trudeau himself, who I should note got out ahead of the White House in this. He said he had a good call with Trump. He said that Canada is going to be implementing a $1.3 billion border plan where they talk about reinforcing the border. I should note that's actually something that Trudeau announced and Canada announced back in December, about mid-December. But also in this announcement, he says that they are going to have frontline personnel working and protecting the border after concerns about fentanyl coming across. And he said that they are going to be appointing a fentanyl czar and that they will list cartels as terrorists.
Interesting development, Caitlin Collins. The ink on this deal was already dry a month before Dumpy here waddled back into the White House, right? And I'll tell you right now, one of the best things about Biden being president, no matter how you view his presidency, one of the best things, at least, there weren't daily meltdowns like this, right? Go months without hearing from him, and that's fine. There weren't these self-inflicted wounds every day. You know what I mean? But that wasn't good enough. Because the losers out there, the Facebook warriors, your MAGA Facebook warriors, right? They had nothing to do all day except circle jerk about stuff we didn't care about because it literally didn't affect us anymore. And on top of all that, Trump knew that he was not going to go through with these tariffs. But look at this. He must be getting Elon stock market manipulation tips because this was the morning when those tariffs might have got into effect, right? Look at that stock market. He knew this was going to happen. There's a 100% chance. There's a 1,000% chance. He bought all that stuff while it was crashing out. And then it shot right back up when he said the tariffs were off. What did Martha Stewart go to jail for again? Oh, yeah. Insider trading.
Alike, and thank God for Doge.
That's Nancy
They're looking
Mace's
at
voice.
Waste, fraud, and abuse. Just got access to Treasury payment accounts to showcase all of the fraud going on, billions and billions of dollars. They're already saving billions of dollars a day. We have to look at spending. We have to look at tax cuts as well. But it's very important. There are multiple factors that go into inflation. We have to recognize that and try to fight our way forward and grow the economy in a way that wages grow with the challenges we have ahead.
This just shows you they know the game.
Eggs and gas again. We can't do that right now until we fix the system.
Yeah, we were just looking at a scrolling list of some of the products and companies that are going to be affected, and it seems like virtually every sector of the American economy potentially could be targeted by these tariffs, and the tariffs that Mexico and Canada have now announced that they will institute against
So you
US
see what's
goods.
happening. They already know the game. Nancy Mace, who was nailed up to those giant cross earrings on her ears, being crucified, the daily martyr she is. Remember when she wore that A, the scarlet A? The A stands for apple. The guy on the left on Fox, he knows what's happening, but he's trying to play the game. Still pretending the tariffs were going to go through. But Nancy Mace was preparing you for what the tariffs were covering up, right? Because like anyone on this train knows, it was all a distraction. The real story that mainstream media and Fox News weren't covering why it was happening. I mean, now it's getting some coverage, right? As long as Elon doesn't send letters out to ABC and NBC and CBS and all the other ones, because they won't report on it if he sends it out. The real story was a Nazi was robbing the Federal Reserve in broad daylight. And he's not even robbing the Federal Reserve in a cool way like Jeremy Irons in Die Hard 3. And a bit of a controversial opinion, I think Die Hard 3 is just as good, if not a little bit better, than Die Hard 1. I know. But instead of a cool bad guy, all we get is this fat Nazi right here, right? Look at that. God trying to make him a skinhead. But he used his billions to cover it up. It almost seems like a metaphor. I think I'm going to have to workshop it a little more, but Elon's hair trying to make him a skinhead and then the billions hide that from everybody feels like one of those deep metaphors. I'm going to workshop that.
Government. I think we have the finest people ever recruited for government.
He said it the first time.
Congress.
And you know what? You're starting to see that because we've done more in 2 weeks than Biden's done in 5 years, 6 years. They could be here between him and Obama. You add it up, okay?
He's right. Before the cult of personality hit the Republican Party, some of my family members could actually talk about politics without devolving into conspiracy theories or things they've read on memes. You could actually have a conversation about political differences, right? And one of the things was you got to protect the Constitution against Obama because he's doing all these executive orders. And by the way, what did Byron say? We don't have to watch any blue ribbon cuttings. Like I said, this is what Fox News is doing. They have an executive action cam when they lost their minds when Obama signed them. My Republican family members would say government is supposed to move slow. It's designed that way by the founders. It's how the founding fathers wanted it. Now, if you ask them about the founding fathers, hell, if you ask them about these fathers right here, right? They will tell you they have no father anymore because all they have is a daddy.
I'm glad Trump's here at the moment. It's like daddy arrived and he's taking his belt off, So I think he'll get some results here.
Daddy has arrived and he's taken his belt off. That's what Mel Gibson wants your relationship with the president of your country to be. Where do you even start with such derangement, right? And, Mel Sugar Tits Gibson's booze brain, he pictures Trump coming home as his daddy and taking his belt off, man. I thought me and my wife had some kiki fantasies, Nothing compares to this, of a politician no less, being your daddy. What do? They're calling him daddy. I mean, I hate to say it. I am pessimistic by nature, but we've crossed a very real line. What do we do? You know, I've been warning you about this for 5 years just on this channel, 4 or 5 years. 20 years before that in person, back before a YouTube channel. I made these 2 long-ass episodes. One of them on techno-libertarianism as a mask for techno-feudalism, you know. I made that long episode on accelerationism. That was an hour long. That's long for me. And I know watching those now doesn't answer the question, what do we do? But it was an observation of a train at the time that was 30 miles away and barreling toward us, right? But if something doesn't come across your For You page, which sees people behind Trump control now, if it doesn't scroll across your social media anymore, it just doesn't exist. And speaking of which...
So other countries have sovereign wealth funds, and they're much smaller countries, and they're not the United States. We have tremendous potential in this country, tremendous. You're seeing that, what's happened just in a short period of time. And as an example, TikTok, we're going to be doing something perhaps with TikTok, and perhaps not. If we make the right deal, we'll do it, otherwise we won't. But I have the right to do that, and we might put that in the sovereign wealth fund, whatever we make, or if we do a partnership with very wealthy people, a lot of options, but we could put that as an example in the fund, and we have a lot of other things that we could put in the fund, and I think in a short period of time we'd have one of the biggest funds, and you know, some of them are pretty large, I must tell you. Some of the, like the Saudi Arabia fund is on the large side, but eventually we'll catch it. But we're going to create a lot of wealth for the fund. And I think
while he's out there pushing to cut funding completely for PBS, to go after news stations if they don't report on him favorably, he's saying he's good. The state, all right? State-run media is going to buy TikTok. You know, if you didn't catch my episode on TikTok, I think it was last week, this is what I'm saying. Casually. And by the way, no blue ribbon cuttings, Byron Donalds. No blue ribbon. Another Fox cam grabbing him, signing an executive order. While casually dropping, we will take this Chinese app that we all warned you about is state-run. We have to ban this app because it's state-run by the Chinese government. The Chinese Communist Party. But don't worry, because we're going to take it. And we're going to state-run the app. We're going to take it from the Chinese Communist Party and add it to the American Fascist Party as, you know, state-run social media. And the number one comment, if you go over to Twitter, it's called X. I wouldn't suggest going over there, but, you know, I think it's a good idea. I think state-run social media is a good idea. Trump is smart. He knows what he's doing. And there's a 3,000% chance, there's a 5,000, there's a 1,000,000% chance I'm talking to a bot. Because, you know, it's Twitter. It's called X. So, in that room with him right there is Rupert Murdoch.
Related to the market reaction and a criticism from Mr. Murdoch's own newspaper. He called it the dumbest trade war.
Rupert Murdoch said right there.
On the editorial page on Saturday.
I'm going to have to talk to him. I've been right over the Wall Street Journal many times, I will tell you that. I don't agree with him on some things. No, it's not only is it not dumb, you're going to see. Every single one of those countries is dying to make a deal. You know why? Because they're ripping us off. Really.
Right there. They're both laughing at this sham. People were like, oh my God, the Wall Street Journal is calling out Trump finally. Right? They're laughing because it's a giant club and you ain't in it. Rupert Murdoch's Fox News will tell you they're the highest watched cable channel in the history of news. And in the next breath, they'll rail against mainstream media. So if you're the highest rated and you don't like mainstream media, Spider-Man pointing gif. State-run media for the past 30, 40 years. However long Fox News has been around. Seems like my entire life. Probably is. Right? Sometime in the 90s. State-run cable media for the 60 to 80-year-olds. And now adding on state-run social media for the rest of us. And I don't understand when you're so old, right? as Rupert Murdoch, 93 years old, still trying to ride the dick of power up until your very last breath, when you're so old that your wife, who looks like an old lady, is actually 26 years younger than you. These people never go away. The playbook is so old that Rupert remembers it, right? It is, right there, yeah. Hitler's tariff war, almost to the day, February 10th.
Well, every American needs to know that your information, your personal tax records have been potentially compromised, that unelected billionaires and his Silicon Valley right-wing friends may have access to all of your personal information.
They do. They have a server running.
And all of this seems to be in service of taking control of the federal government and using the resources of the federal government to reward Trump's friends and Musk's friends and to punish their enemies, at least to punish people who don't line up with the political priorities of the administration. They say they're just, sorting through all of government spending to make sure that it doesn't contain funding for woke ideologies. That is just fancy talk to say we're going to give money to people who pledge loyalty to Donald Trump, and we're not going to give money to people who don't pledge loyalty to Donald Trump. Today it may be government contracts, but tomorrow it may be your tax refund. So I just think this is a super dangerous moment that doesn't just impact government contractors.
And Chris Murphy's definitely a step up from, Chuck Schumer pulling out a Corona. Just a quick recap. Elon was born in apartheid South Africa. I know we all know that. Black second-class citizens went into his family's mines to give him generational wealth. He bought Twitter, immediately unblocked all the neo-Nazis in the first month. He changed the algorithm. So all you see is neo-Nazis, and then he retweets them. He Sieg Heil twice. It was an autistic twitch, sure. And then he turned around and did it again. He did it over the presidential seal of the United States of America. The Nazis celebrated it. Elon never denied it. And what the chuds do? They went out and they cried that he didn't do it. And unelected Elon is dismantling our government agencies. And then he's taken that private information to create a state's enemies list. People text me. People call me. They say, MJ, what do we do now? Right? And honestly, I can answer them over text. For now, I can answer them over the phone. And I realize not all of us are students of history. But these phones right here, right? They've leaked up the dumbest people in the world. They've leaked up the dumb people to even the dumber people, right? The people who have nothing better to do. I forgot what a cesspool Facebook was. I go on there twice a year, like I said in the previous video. I forgot. All these chuds do is go on there and circle jerk each other off. All day. Fetal alcohol syndrome face right here. He says, didn't you know the Nazis were socialists? I mean, do they not teach anything anymore in school? Right? It's the first chapter. The first chapter of history. The Nazis called themselves socialists as a strategic choice designed to attract a broad base of support during a turbulent period in German history. However, their version of socialism was largely a rhetorical tool that masked an ideology focused on extreme nationalism, racial hierarchy, and authoritarian control. Not on the class base, egalitarian, and international principles associated with traditional socialist thought. I'm pretty sure when I was a kid, I learned that somewhere in high school. It's like called the trust funder standing in front of a bunch of oligarchs, a populace, right? This is what I see when I go on there. You think a political party who is so concerned with how they identify themselves, right? It's their whole thing. Tell trans people how to identify themselves. You think that this would be a problem. So let me try to explain it to fetal alcohol syndrome here. All right. The Nazis' pronouns, what they went by, were socialists. Pronouns, right? But their assigned sex at birth was fascist. Like a Chud whisper or something. Suddenly I understand, right? And it turns out people like Chris here, they hated the quiet, going months without daily meltdowns, self-inflicted wounds, while Biden was president. They hated it because they could go on Facebook every day with these new insane conspiracies. You know? These insane conspiracies. This weird, oh my God, Nazis were actually socialists. It says it on Google. They gave these losers a purpose. I mean, just read how pathetic this is. Deplorable Robin, ultra MAGA. Ultra. But she got super triggered when Hillary called her deplorable. Now she's folded it into her entire personality. I love you, sir. This is under Trump talking about the tariffs he's going to put on. It was Mexico, Canada, and then he was also saying, Europe. I love you, sir, but the tariff on Canada is going to put our family out of business. I lost a niece to fentanyl. Right? So I understand what you are doing. What is right for us? I'm so torn with what you are doing. I'm not only going to lose my company that my dad started 50 years ago. I don't know. They're not a very good writer. Shocking. 6th grade reading level. Deal with your vote, says Edward. Deplorable Robin comes back. I love this man. Best president ever. If Biden did F everything up, the parts I could read of, 1st grade reading level here. Your policies are putting my family out of business. Best president ever. Joe Biden's fault. People are asking me, what do we do now? Since the beginning of time, there have been dumb kids. They grow up into dumb adults. They have their own kids of their own, and then they make those kids dumb, and the cycle perpetuates, right? But they have never been harvested or pushed out by, influencers on this level before. Because of this. Because of the phone. Back to the chuds at the grocery store. Staring at the prices. They can't even remember how Trump's had ended 4 years ago. They can't even remember not being able to wipe their ass, right? And you expect them to remember what happened 80 years ago? Come on, man. The tariffs were planned. We're not ramping up production. If we were true isolationists, we'd be ramping up production before we enacted the tariffs, right? Just like the first time, Trump will leave this economy in a ditch. My family business, sir. Best president. And taking the economy when it eventually happens is part of the plan, right? It's prime time for those with capital to buy everything up. X, Meta, Amazon. They're going to go on a feeding frenzy when this upcoming recession hits, right? They might be the only companies left. Thought the ending of Parks and Rec is actually happening now. I mean, if you're planning for an oligarch to take over, this is how you do it. Lena Khan is gone. So they can merge. They can swallow up companies. There's no rules anymore. Well, there's no rules for them. Apparently, you can go to jail if you show the people, the Boy Scouts working with Elon. Once they buy everything up and everybody else is too broke to compete, they'll rent it back to you. And free market competition will reach its ultimate conclusion. Techno-feudalism. Where you own nothing, right? You will rent everything. You will be beholden to a ruling party. As I said before, people call me, they say, what do we do now? And as a student of history, I can't answer that on YouTube without a ban, right? What do we do now? It's been 2.5 weeks. Enemies lists are being created by an unelected chud who threw out a Nazi Sieg Heil a week ago. What do we do now? Power is never given. It's taken. And these things never end. They never change cleanly. That's all I'm going to say. The Chud Report. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If you like this episode, check out some more of the others. Subscribe. Thank you to the members, as always. The members are keeping me alive during this time. So that's all I got for you today.
Don't have the right to be disciplining people for political reasons, and they don't have a right to usurp Congress's rightful role to appropriate money. We've appropriated money for U.S. aid to render service around the world in fighting disease and fighting corruption, in defending democracy. We know Elon Musk is not interested in that. Donald Trump is not interested in that. But that's what the American Congress has done, and we're going to stand up with the workers here.
Thank you.